I don't know why I like it. I just always have. This is where I first became addicted. I'd spend countless hours planted in front of the TV, mesmerized by these images of these strong guys taking matters into their own hands. Watching, fantasizing. Over my mother's protest, my father took me to a match once. I remember this huge Goliath walking down the aisle past me, blocking out the light, as if we were the only two that existed in the world. I forget who won, but I do remember this. This guy has a family? What kind of father does this for a living? 30 years later, I'm a screenwriter with a wife and 2 kids. I still watch wrestling. I just don't tell a lot of people about it. Can you blame me?
Can you imagine the level of a mind that watches wrestling? Huh?
I don't care. I love the pageantry, the athleticism, even the incredibly cheesy acting. I look at wrestling as theater at its most base. And guess what? So do most of the fans. We know what's going on. Is it sport? Is it entertainment? It's both. It's, wrestling. Now let's get something straight. I know wrestling is a show, but it's not as fake as you think. Of course, the winners of the matches are predetermined, and the violence is choreographed. However, the result of the violence is very real. All these years watching wrestling, one thought still swirls in my mind. What sort of human being bashes another man's skull into a ring post for a living? Who are these guys? So I got out of my chair and decided to find out. I figured, why not start at the top? The World Wrestling Federation.
World Wrestling Federation. One moment. World Wrestling Federation. One moment. World Wrestling Federation. One moment.
The WWF is big. How big? They're worth close to $1 billion. That's more than the New York Knicks, Rangers, and Mets combined.
World Wrestling Federation. One moment. World Wrestling Federation. World Wrestling Federation.
This empire has been ruled by one family for 4 generations, the McMahon family. Its current jefe, Vince McMahon. When Vince bought the WWF from his father, overnight he changed wrestling from a regional business to an international phenomenon.
Some of our success stories, a certain amount of respect comes with that. But hopefully that simply will only be used as an entree to encourage someone's interest to then find out what we're really about. We make movies. We're gonna shoot this straight down this way?
Right, yeah. He's gonna walk forward, they're gonna back right.
Are you not dancing?
I know. I'm strutting. That was my strut.
You see the cable behind him? You see the cable behind him? No, I want a nice clean shot.
Like an old-time studio, Vince has writers.
That's it, Tom Coolin Collective, and by the time you have that out, here she comes. And it's that simple. Okay? And that's where she does a number on you, and I guess it's going to be the back, right? And just really, really, really sell the back. Sell the back to the point that we don't think you're going to be able to compete.
Vince has in-house composers.
It's, you know, he walks like this, boom, so the team's got to reflect that.
The man, the
even has wardrobe designers. The way I see it, the critics have it all wrong. The WWF isn't about fighting. It's about spectacle.
You know, I could care less who wins. I could care less who loses. As long as we got an ass every 18 inches, I'm a happy man.
Oh yeah, they have wrestlers too. Because without them, it would be hard to move the merchandise.
Reports from retail, we are still one of the top 2 selling licenses. It's us and South Park fighting it out almost head-to-head at every retailer right now.
Way to go. Way to go.
There's a direct similarity between WWF and the Muppets. Family-owned company, the whole business based in performance and characters with real human beings playing characters. In our case, they just don't have to be using puppets.
We're in the business of creating monsters. I'm proud of the fact that the World Wrestling Federation creates monsters. And I don't know that it's not a lot like the old Hollywood star system years ago. But then after you've created the monster, hopefully you have the wherewithal to hang on to the monster. If not, the monster can turn around and bite you.
My biggest mistakes I'll regret probably for a long time was staying with the WWF. At the time, I'd just gotten married June 4th of 1997, I believe it was, and I asked Vince McMahon for my release from the World Wrestling Federation, and he said, we can't do that for you. We've invested too much time and money into you, so we'll send you and your newlywed bride to a smaller circuit called the USWA in Memphis, Tennessee. And he sent me out there to work for $40 a night, 3 nights a week.
And when I first got here, I had a 2-hour meeting with Vince McMahon, basically laid out the goals that I had always wanted to achieve in the wrestling business. And he promised me that I'd have those opportunities to achieve those goals. And in my opinion, he never followed through with them.
He really treats the organization as it's like a mom and pop shop where everybody's word is important. And he makes everyone feel that way. And we all work really hard and we play really hard. But and he creates a very fun atmosphere for everyone. And it's a great place to work.
He didn't give me that day off, so I took off. I just went home. I went home and go home, watch my boy born. And because of that, a few days later, actually, I was out of job.
But I was really honest with Vince McMahon. I wanted him to know. I thought I was doing something really great. I thought, hey, I thought Vince McMahon was saying, well, Coco, I'm glad for you to, any kind of businessman will say, I'm kind of glad for you to do it. At least I know what you're doing with your money. I try to be honest with the man. And see what happened with being honest.
Coco made a mistake of fighting with one of our executives. I fired the executive. I thought maybe I should fire Coco. We were over in England, I think it was, and they got into it, and it was such unprofessional conduct by both the executive who was working for me as well as the performer that I had to do something, and that was basically the reason why I fired Coco.
Vince McMahon is probably the greatest wrestling promoter that there's ever been, and I wouldn't trust him, and I think that anyone who trusts him is being very foolish based on his track record.